And we'll just get straight into it. If you guys just want to introduce yourselves, what work you do, and then we'll move on to your work with Constructive Futures after. So yeah, Jenny?
Oh, thank you for having us. I'm Jenny Kitchen and I've worked in the property and construction sector as a self-employed business development consultant for 11 years. I founded my own company called Building Rapport and I support SMEs when they're at a stage when they want to grow. So that means helping them win and retain more talent, helping them win more work. But ultimately, through the connections that I've built up in the industry, it's networking and it's making the right introductions for them with the right companies so that they can bid to win more work. And a lot of that, with regards to the recruitment and retention side of things in businesses, is often about company culture. It's inclusivity, it's the EDI policies, etc. And that kind of led on to doing more engagement with education providers and how we can look at harnessing the talent of the next gen to grow those SMEs and bring in apprentices and bring in young people so that they can nurture their own teams and their own staff and instill that loyalty. So
yeah, thanks Dan. Thank you for having us. Natalie Sarabia-Johnston, Southgate Sarabia Architects. Myself and Darren founded the company just over 5 years ago now. So we're still quite new as an architectural practice based in Leeds and Manchester. Before that, for 7 years, I had my own other business, which was Architecture ID, which I was my own business, but I worked more on a consultancy basis, a bit like Jen, I suppose. And then obviously myself and Darren said, right, instead of doing it for everybody else, let's do it for ourselves. So that's when we set up Southgate Sarabia Architects. I think for myself, I've always, I think it's 22 years now that I've been at Leeds Beckett University. So I've been part-time lecturer, tutor. I'm now the professional Part 3 examiner at Leeds. I'm a guest lecturer at Salford, Nottingham-Trent, you name it. So for me, it's about giving back and supporting our young people within the industry. Myself and Jenny do a lot of charity work, and that's I suppose that's my role within the practice is to sort of promote sort of sustainability, social value, and mentoring and supporting the young people, because I suppose that's what I'm passionate about. So rather than the benefit go to one individual company, actually we can work with more people, especially from young people from diverse backgrounds, and work with them and actually work with individual companies to help them who don't have the resource to do meaningful social value, that actually will work together and we can support a lot more students and cover a lot more ground. So that's where we started, really, wasn't it, Jen?
It was, yeah. And I think we just wanted to offer a vehicle that was really transparent and really open and honest about how we went about things, and any companies that get involved and support our work, we share that social value data and we really work collaboratively to think about a solution that works for everybody. It ticks boxes for bid writing for future building evidence and case studies for those companies to meet social value targets. But ultimately and primarily, it works for the students because they're getting so much more value from it by bringing more people together and give them lots of information and open their eyes to all the brilliant careers that we've got in property and construction that they're just not aware of.
Yeah, definitely. I think because when I got speaking to you guys initially, I didn't really understand what was going on. I met you as your roles, really, and then obviously got chatting a little bit deeper about what you do. And I just think that's how this link came up, doesn't it? With what we do at Constructing Excellence, is we're trying to do a lot of what you're doing, and yet you're already doing it. And that's that thing. Everyone's working in their own little silos, and it just didn't make any sense. So we were like, why don't we just try and bring this all together? Let's harness what you're doing into what we're doing and just try all we're all on the same mission ultimately.
Yeah.
But I just want to talk about young people getting into construction in general, and you'll be a lot more exposed to it than what I am. But what's the general feeling? Have you got a feeling from people involved? Is it a negative, positive, or is it a challenge to even get them to want to be involved?
I think for we're working with the RICS, working with the RIBA, working with local authorities, etc. And what we found is, and especially from research and evidence, predominantly this is through the RICS, is that there's the biggest decrease of the number of people under the age of 30 going into the construction industry, which is a massive warning sign. And on the flip side, we've got the biggest decrease of the number of people over the age of 60 retaining or staying or coming into the industry. So that's really worrying, because we're going to have a huge skill shortage. Give us another 10, 15 years or whatever. Well, it's going to be sooner than that, but if you can imagine the people who are now 60-year-olds.
There's already a skills crisis. It's going to get bigger, isn't it?
Absolutely. And until we get more young people into the construction industry. The other thing that myself and Jenny found is you go into schools and everybody's, I want to be an influencer, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be this. So they want to be social media mogul, which is fine. But that's maybe half of those kids would have probably gone into the construction industry. Maybe it's different roles, different jobs or whatever. So that for us, that's what we're finding is a lot of the younger kids are just looking at alternative careers and not the sort of more traditional careers. And you still get one or two who, so some the schools we work with actually are fantastic, and they're brilliant at promoting careers, for any student. But you still get the one or two who was like, well, maybe have you thought about hairdressing? Have you thought about this? And even I'll go into schools and they do an exercise where you have to guess your career, and young girls will go, are you a beautician, or are you a hairdresser? It's like, no. So we've got to change that perception as well, and it's that perception of middle-aged men in muddy boots. That again, we've got to get away from that perception.
Yeah.
Another thing that is interesting is actually a lot of planning consultants, planners. They have a 50-50 mix of male and female, and I mean, there's a huge lack of planners, but they have a bit more in terms of diversity. But we have got a huge shortage, so I think it's a shortage across the board.
It is. What's interesting as well is that it's you two as well leading the line on this. So what you kind of class as stereotypical in construction. Yeah, you've got two ladies that are actually leading it up to do to represent this. Which brings me on to Constructive Futures, which is what you guys have set up as a bit of a joint business. I'm just going to read out a little bit about your mission, if I may, because I think it's quite cool. Yeah. It says, we're all about giving young people a chance to shine in the built environment scene. We guide them through career choices, offering hands-on experience, and make sure diversity, inclusion, and sustainability are at the core of it. We're on a mission to bridge the skills gap, revamp recruitment, and boost retention. Through constructive engagement, we also enrich their lives with valuable life skills, making a real difference. So, what happened? What was the trigger for you to go, we're going to set this up, and we need to start making a difference? Did something happen to one of you one day and thought, we need to do more?
Yeah, I think so. I think after UK Reef last year, we attended year 1 and year 2. Obviously, we're there again next year. We saw the really amazing impact that made on the students, and we just wanted to make sure we could get more young people involved. And because we're both quite cheeky people, and we're able to have those conversations with organisers like, Nathan Spencer at UK Reef and say, this is our mission, this is what we want to do. How can we work with you, and how can we bring more young people? Because they want more young people there too. And we thought if we can do that for ourselves and ask all of those cheeky questions and push, if it's something that we're proactively involved in, it's our business, we've kind of got that drive to go ahead and do that for ourselves, and just make sure that there are different students each year, more students coming through the ranks, and not just inviting the A-star students or the same students, because we know that they're good at talking, we know that they're confident, and they'll almost be our ambassadors. We do need those people, but more importantly, we need the other young people that need that confidence boost and need that opportunity. So each year we'll make a concerted effort to invite different students each year, so that the reach is wider and they can tell their friends about the industry and how brilliant it is, and on it goes. Was there a light
The
bulb
other
moment
part
for
of
you,
that as
Nat?
well is, yeah, I think, we work, we've got a chap called Stuart Hyde, who is a phenomenal guy. So he heads up T-levels at Runshaw College. And I've been working with Stuart for about 2 years now, and Jenny probably about 15, 18 months, whatever. And it was literally through a chance, me seeing him on LinkedIn, can anybody help with this? So I was like, not to sway away from a challenge. It's like, what do you need? Well, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? I was like, yeah, sure. So we've invested a lot of time with Stuart and his cohort of students at Runshaw. And if you could pick up Stuart and put him in every single college and do what he's doing in his such proactive way, then we would have a phenomenal construction industry. All the young people come through would be absolutely phenomenal. So just to put it into context, he has something like 40 guest speakers going into college, 2 or 3 a week, over the academic year. We've helped him arrange, through Constructive Futures, we've set up 5 site visits, a couple to Wigan, to Blackpool, a couple to Manchester, etc. And these are full days out in industry. So that's a coffee morning with networking. We then go on to site. We'll have a tool talk with maybe some apprentices. We'll then get a site visit so the students can ask questions. So we've worked with BAM, Morgan Sindall, Vinci, you name it, some of the big contractors. And then we'll get someone to sponsor lunch, and then in the afternoon we'll do some breakout sessions, whether that's guest speakers coming in and talking about different roles within the industry, or an activity. And the students that we're working with Stuart this year, actually all of them have secured themselves their work placements for year 2. They've all had a week of work experience. They don't need to do a week of work experience in the first year, but all of them, we've helped Stuart and his sort of connections secure the students' work experience, and they're absolutely phenomenal students. And I think if you think, right, if we can do that with Stuart, what could we achieve if we did that with a lot more colleges? And I would employ any of Stuart's students, because they've got the respect, they've got that the learning that they have had. It's not just chalk and talk. And there's evidence again to say that if you bring in a professional so if I came in and talked about architecture, I could say exactly the same content and the same, the same information as Stuart, but because it's delivered by somebody else who's a professional, they're more likely to get A's and B's than if Stuart, the same teacher, every single session was then the same content, chalk and talk sort of thing. They're more likely to get C's and D's. So we know for a fact, in terms of Stuart, the retention of, I think he's lost 2 students in, all the time that he's been running the course, which is phenomenal. And usually the dropout rate is a lot higher. So the T-levels is a great way of getting students in. But again, you've got to work, it's down to the individuals. We've just started working, I've been working with Garforth Academy for 3 years. But it's just this year that we've started working again with their T-level students. We've got 12 students we're taking this year to UK Reef with us, because obviously it's local, so it makes it easier. Yeah. And again, they're a really good bunch of kids, and it's half of it is down to who's supporting them and how their teachers, their lecturers, etc. So I think for me it was, if the impact that I could have had or have had, I like to think that we've had on Runshaw College and with Stuart, it's like, well, what if we could do this for more people and make a difference? So I suppose that was my light bulb moment.
Yeah, it's great. It is great, and feels like, I guess sometimes it feels like an impossible mission, doesn't it? You feel like, but I guess it comes back to that thing is, if you don't try, then who's going to? I think with a lot of construction in general, we've definitely changed a lot. If you look at now, kids don't want to go and do constructive work on sites. There isn't many people want to come out and become bricklayers. The flat roofing industry, its average age is pushing towards 55. It'll be towards 60 in a couple of years, because these people are coming in. But it's why that's happening, and it's if you look down the routes of later on into construction, people don't have the greatest lives either. You know, we've spoken to a lot of mental health people where there's a lot of mental health issues on site. So there's that to deal with. And it's a shame because what we get now is a lot of people going into businesses to, I guess, help people do the thing, if this makes sense. So rather than the people doing the actual thing, we get a lot of people who want to do the work who helps the people do the thing. And then you just get this whole backlog of everyone going, well, I'm helping him, helping him, helping him. But it's like, who's building it? It's like, well, no one. We're all just helping each other. And but we've created that with social media. How many now is there online coaches teaching you how to coach other people? It's absolutely insane. It's saturated. And now there's coaches teaching coaches how to coach people. And we're missing that. You know, it's a shame that we're having to push it like this because it is what we need. If we stop building, then we collapse. So, you know, I'm really, really keen to kind of like jump on it and help. But I think it's just understanding. It's having guys like you to go, right, we've set this platform up. Here's how you can help. And I think that's what it needs. A lot of people to be told how you can help, to be honest.
Yeah.
Jenny,
Yeah.
I know you've been there.
Yeah, and digital skills is high on our agenda, and we need to make ourselves as relevant as we can to young people, or else we're never going to attract them. So we need to talk about, you know, the metaverse. We need to talk about the future of AI and VR, and how, you know, just speaking to a mechanical company a couple of weeks ago, what they've decided to do with their staff is they've got the older generation who used to be out on the tools, but they don't want to be working outdoors in the rain. You know, they're semi-retired or they're thinking about it and they just want to work from home, but they've got all of this knowledge in their heads that they can pass on to the next gen. So they can do that. They can sit at home being the expert. The young people that have the enthusiasm and are happy to go out there and be on the tools, they're using like Quest goggles whilst they're fixing something, so they can see in VR what it is that they're doing. They can have a dashboard up there that helps them, and if they get stuck, they just phone the expert who's sat at home. Right, I'm stuck with this problem, what do I need to do? And they can literally see what they're seeing and talk them through and tell them how to fix the problem. And that's exciting for young people. That's their language. Digital skills is a way forward. Everybody's, you know, all the teenagers are at home on their games doing this. So if we make engineering in the construction industry and tell them about all the great, you know, building information modeling and how that relates to gaming, that's really exciting, and that's how we'll capture them. So the older gen need to pass on their knowledge to the younger gen, and they can't do it in silos. They need to work together and capitalise on that. We're working with a company called Focus XR that have been to some of our site visits, and they filmed Natalie whilst she was on site. Natalie, you can tell them about that because you were the one that did it.
Yeah, no, I mean that was.
Do you want to talk about
because they've got the equipment. So they've got the equipment where they will video 360 degrees. So I could be stood on site talking about, you know, look at the beams, look at the columns, look at this, you know, the existing fabric of the building. They do a full 360 survey. And then they can basically, if I'm talking about, say, the cast iron columns, they will then afterwards put annotation on and say, this is what, you know, what you're pointing at. And then you can... Basically, they make videos which then can be used in other schools, in other environments where you can't get a site visit. So if we were working with, say, a remote college in, I don't know, somewhere remote, you know, where it's more likely that they've not got a designated construction department, they might be taught by maybe a maths teacher or maybe a science teacher. They haven't got that exposure to the construction industry and, you know, the work experience stuff. It's an opportunity for them to get the same experience of being on site without actually stepping out onto site. So they're still learning through being able to look at stuff and see, you know, how it's done. Just going back to what Jenny was saying before about, you know, having the sort of the old generation with the remoting, you know, it's almost like remote working. So you've got the young person, rather than have a robot, you've got a young person who's then learning through using the headgear and having, someone in your ear going, oh, it's that left screw, undo that. That's really, I thought that was really, really fantastic. The other thing that we're looking to do as well, as obviously as we get going, is have online work experience as well. So rather than, quite often the problem is having, as a small practice, there's only so many people we can take on as work experience, and it's not fair on my staff for every single week of the year for them to have a new person to mentor and stuff. As a small practice, that's just not right. But what we're looking at is for students who maybe have got, you might have someone who's wheelchair bound, but they want to be a QS or a project manager. They don't necessarily have to be on site all the time, and actually they can learn through these sort of technologies to see if that actually is for them. And that's what we want to do, is make it really accessible for everybody. And having, say, remote work experience, you could have 50 people doing work experience in a week. You set up the breakout rooms, etc. Each morning you have a different representative. So you might start off with like maybe the planning consultant coming talking about planning and the bigger sort of the site, the context. Then you go into groups, you do like design. Then you come back and you present, etc. And you've got someone else coming, so it might be the engineers talking about site investigations, and then the architects about design. And so again, you can have like meaningful work experience.
With the technology part of it, I've seen it. I have seen it, and it's something that is incredible. I think it's Meta, isn't it? I think it was Mark Zuckerberg who was actually promoting, being able to put headsets on and being able to sit in a board meeting without being in the board meeting, and you've got your avatars and everything like that. So the name actually works really well, Constructive Futures, because that's exactly what it should be. It should be looking at futures. And I think you've just, even just listening to this for literally just half an hour has made me think, this isn't about getting people to come in and enjoy how construction is today, because we're not going to win. We're going to lose every time. But if we bring in what's come in and then educate them on what's coming in, then there'll be this intrigue to get in, because people want to play with technology. I've seen it. You put a headset on a site, you can pretty much build a site with a headset, and that, the learning experience is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. So this is really, I kind of see where this is going then. So are you actively then looking for advancements in technology and then bringing them back in-house to then show to the students? Is that how it works? Or
we are looking for people, supporters, mentors, champions to come and showcase all the fantastic things about the construction industry. So that might be new technologies in groundworks, or it might be technologies in, being a cost consultant or project management tools. It could be anything. We're open to. Every day is a learning day for me and Jen, on every single level. I've always said that. That's why I love working at or going into universities, because the students have all these fantastic ideas but haven't got a clue how to implement it. So let's share the ideas, and that's where you really, if you get someone who's got experience in the construction industry, and they're working with someone who's less experienced, that's when the magic happens. And that's what we need, is that sort of that teamwork, that collaboration. If we can get people who say, right, well, actually, we're doing this. We're working with Rob Charlton from Space Architects. And again, the innovations and technologies that they're doing through like BIM store and BIM, everything, clash detection, efficiencies, especially with the Building Safety Act, and actually monitoring how it's being built on site. All of these technologies are going to have to be brought on board to be able to manage the processes that we're going to have to do anyway. So let's use these tools that are available to be able to teach our future generations.
Question, Jenny, with the technology though, it feels it's so far ahead that we don't have the mentors to be able to teach the people. Would I be right in saying that? Are we struggling to get the people? Because the technology is absolutely incredible. I've seen it. Is it there?
It is there. It is there. We just need to find the right people that are willing to give up the time to dedicate to come and spend, it doesn't have to be long, an hour to talk to us, to talk with a cohort of students. We can all learn from each other. But it's those companies that get it, those companies that realise this is the future and it's not going to be an overnight fix. Nothing about this is, it's closing the skills gap, addressing diversity, talking about tech and green skills. It's something that has to start now. And if it starts now with 16, 17-year-olds, and we can say to them, if you think about how long it takes to bring a site forward, if they've got a voice and an opinion on what that site might look like, in 6 years' time, when that development is ready to start going, that 17-year-old will be 23. They'll be in a job. They could actually have the opportunity to work on that job and make a difference when it comes to climate action, sustainability, energy efficiency, and all of the tech. So another way to be relatable to our students is we talk to them very much about climate change, sustainability, how as a sector we can make a difference. And that really captures their imagination. All the young people now, sustainability is key on their list when they're looking for companies to work with. They want to know how they can make a difference. And if you can relate that to M&E design and, the GAFA students who want to do electrical installation, if we can capitalise on that and say, in this role, you can actually make a real difference to climate change by designing something that is more sustainability friendly, that is more has that energy efficiency design within it, and get them thinking about that and plant those seeds now. And then when they are in a job and they're looking at that work, they can see it's making an impact, it's making a difference. The mentors are there. We've found some already. We just need to, I guess, do a big call out to the rest to come and give us some time and show us their technology. With schools, sometimes it can be different. Careers teams in schools are battling against staff availability and resources, but our solution is simple. We give us a day with your students and we'll do the rest. We'll bring those innovators and those tech people in to talk to your students. You don't need to do anything. If we can take them out of school and off curriculum, brilliant. If we can't because they're too young or it's just too difficult, that's fine. Just give us your assembly hall for the day. We'll bring everybody to you. It's really simple. But sometimes there are schools that there are too many barriers in the way, but we're breaking them down slowly.
Natalie, with workload on this, because obviously I might as well speak, you guys obviously do what you do. Now, this, kind of the vision for this could be enormous. Do you have to be careful about slowing it down so it doesn't just become another tick? But I can feel the passion of what you guys are trying to do. So you've got to be so careful between expanding it and blowing it out of proportion to it's just a case of we're trying to do a right thing to actually making a difference. Yeah. And it's finding that balance. And how are you guys trying to balance that between your work plus everything else?
The day job is the day job, and so we do spend a lot of our own time. Fortunately, my 14-year-old is not in the position of wanting to spend any time with me, so that gives me a little bit more time. I was like, do you want to do something? No. It's like, all right then. So that gives me an opportunity to do what I need to. But in reality, it's about working with Stuart. Now that we've got a model that works with Stuart, we can then replicate that. So, for instance, we're now looking to do that at Garforth. We'll roll out exactly what we've learned and achieved at Runshaw and do that at Garforth. Now Runshaw's set up, everything's in place, and all we'll do is repeat it every year. Stuart's got a list of 40, 50 contributors, support people who, if the same consultants allow him to have a student of doing work experience each year for the next 10 years, then he doesn't have to do very much for the next 10 years. And all that company has to do is provide a week work experience and go in for an hour. Now, if all the consultants in the construction industry played their part, we could do that quite easily. And it doesn't take very much work at all for myself and Jenny. It's just a case of, if you've got an architectural practice and you've got an office in Birmingham, in Bristol, London, in Leeds, in Newcastle, or whatever, if you could then do that in each of those locations, and we were working with different colleges, universities, and schools, etc. The model is quite simple, so all we do is replicate what works. We're working with Bradford Council to work. They've got a bit of funding, and they're saying, right, how can we upskill some of our existing staff, or how can we work and sort of promote heritage and conservation as part of Bradford 2025 and some of the work that they're doing. Again, it's the same model. It's exactly the same model. So it's not. It doesn't take up that much time. To be fair, the time it takes is actually going round and talking to everybody and sort of getting our name out there. But like people like yourself, when we've got supporters who are actually helping to promote it, then actually it becomes easier. Our aim really is to be able to raise enough donations to be able to take on an administrative person to be able to do the admin side of things. That means me and Jen can, we don't step away from it.
Get on with the delivery.
It's all about connections. So again, Jen.
Yeah, that will leave us time to get on with the delivery. The admin side of things takes up such a big part of our spare time, weekends and evenings, documenting student details, making sure it's held securely, and following up. And the amount of our inboxes get full with student CVs, because we'll never turn anyone away. We'll say, send us your CV, tell us what you're looking for, and we'll try and help you find work experience. And just documenting all of that is a job in itself. So, in the summer, once UK reefers calm down and we can take a bit of a breather, we can look for funding that we can apply for to raise the money to employ more people. So that growth will come. At the moment, we're relying on private sector sponsors and commercial partners, because again, it's an easy solution for them. We're providing a vehicle to deliver social value, and if we talk about it in social value terms, that tends to more prick up the interest of certain companies within construction. It's easy, accessible solution for any company that needs to demonstrate how they're delivering impact to their local communities, or that needs support to meet any contractual obligations that they've got on projects they're already working with, to deliver social value for community engagement or employability and skills. Now, contractors are brilliant at that because they've got the live sites that they can invite students to look around. That's great. And there's so much goodwill that comes from contractors. I think where the challenge comes is the rest of the professional services. Instead of going into a school and just delivering a talk for half an hour that the students will have forgotten about by tomorrow morning, still do that half an hour talk, but do it with us as part of a full week of activities where we're really getting the students to understand the job roles, how that applies to that building site, how everybody collaborates together, and the impact of that and the greater good and the collective quantitative data that we can get from that creates so much more social impact than just, one architect going into a school and doing it for 30 minutes once. Kids, we had to go into Garforth, I guess, about 3 times before they even remembered our names. Then, it needs consistency. And I think that as we grow, we'll be able to do that more. Runshaw worked well because we've consistently been engaged with them. They trust us. They understand what we're all about. They get it. So to be able to replicate that with other schools and colleges and universities, like Natalie said, that's where we'll make more impact.
No, it's brilliant. We are, like we spoke openly as well, the Constructing Excellence, Yorkshire and Humber really want to support this. We were actually looking for an initiative ourselves to try and help in that route. We just were a little bit unclear on what that was and how that works and what that looked like. And the team came together to think, how can we do it? And obviously now speaking to you guys, it's so nice to hear that you've already done all that work. Ultimately, now it's just about us as an organisation supporting that and giving you, access, I would have guessed, to the people that we've got and leveraging what you're doing through what we're doing. And there's no point in us being, like I say, completely separate. We've got this platform, you've got that platform, and I really want it to be a collaboration that we support that as best we can. Um,
Yeah.
so just going on to quickly on to next week then, you're bringing students into UK Reef, and there's going to be looking after them for the day. Is that right?
3 days.
3 days, right? Okay, so it's 3 days. That's right, 3 days. Okay,
So,
so
so,
Yeah.
so
just
that
all.
we're looking. Is it 47 students, 48 students now? Or are we
Yeah.
overthinking, Mark?
47. We've got 47 students over the 3 days. Most of them will be there every day. A couple of them won't because of other school commitments, etc. But yeah, we'll be there with a big team, supported by 16 mentors, including myself and Natalie, who are a mixture of supporters and people that we've worked with for a couple of years, and some early careers professionals as well. That's the key to what we do. We need more mentors that are early careers professionals, that are younger in age, that are more relatable to our students. They can actually then see their role models and see themselves and, oh, they're only, 5 years older than me. I could be doing that job soon. I'm really going to listen to them. Whereas, older people and mums like myself and Nat, not so relatable to a young boy from, Pakistan.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
can introduce them to a range of diverse mentors. They're going to see themselves represented and think, oh, I can do that job too. Amazing.
yeah,
One
yeah,
thing that we have found, Dan, is we've worked with a couple of young female architects, and we've got a fantastic girl who's a young Pakistani architect, and she was saying there was never anybody who looked like me or was from my culture. She said there's black architects or there's Indian architects, but not Pakistani. And she said, I want to be a role model for those girls who I've never had a role model. I want to be that role model. So it's, so for all that we see, well, yeah, but she's black and she's a female, so she ticks the boxes. Actually, that's not good enough. We need to find those people from different cultures to really represent their own culture, and that's a really big thing. It's not good enough just to say, well, you're a female or you're black or you're Indian or you're Asian or whatever. It's actually, we need that full diversity to ensure that we have role models for everybody. So as Jenny said, a young Asian boy is not going to have I'm not going to have the same effect on a young Asian boy as I would maybe a young female architect or whatever. So that's
yeah,
why we need champions, young early professionals to stand up and say, actually, this is my route into the construction industry. I didn't start off like Beth, one of the young graduates who I met at Leeds Beckett University. Absolutely fantastic. She was a landscape architect, doing landscape architecture. Every time I go into university, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, what I'm talking about, but I always say, here's my email address. If you need a hand with your CV, mock interviews, work experience or whatever. So I've always done this forever. Beth on this occasion sent me an email and she said, Nat, I don't know if I want to do this. She was in her third year, so obviously she'd already done, two and three quarters of the course. She only had like quarter of a year left to go, and she'd done a week of work experience and had a really bad experience. She said, I was sat in an office. She said, and I was literally Googling wildflower seed mix. She said it was so boring. She said, I hated it. I don't want to do this. And she'd come into the industry. She'd in her email when she sent it to me, she said, I never thought I'd got university. She said, I'm highly dyslexic. I've worked in the hospitality industry for 10 years. And she said, I got made redundant. And through COVID, she said, I thought, right, this is my chance. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And then to then go through that really poor work experience, to think, I don't want to do this anymore. I've just wasted 3 years of my life. So this is where me and Jenny come in to say, well, actually, I rang her, let's have a coffee. Sat down, had a coffee. I says, what do you want to do? I don't know, but this is not for me. And my boyfriend's going to kill me. I've wasted 3 years. I've wasted like the equivalent of 100 grand of not earning and the fees and stuff. So I just said, right, what do you enjoy doing? I enjoy being with people. I enjoy, community stuff. So what about business development? She was like, I said, all your transferables, all those skills you had in the hospitality industry are fully transferable. She was like, oh my God, yeah, that'd be amazing. I'd love to do that. I said, well, what about social value going into social? I was like, oh my God, I'd love to go into school. So all of a sudden, she had these opportunities that she never would have dreamt of or never have thought of. Myself and Jenny, we took it to UK Reef, we took it to women in property events. So all last year, we basically spent a couple of months and we said, and actually she could have come out with about 3-4 jobs before the summer holiday, before she even got to finishing a course. I says, but we'll do that, but I'm going to introduce you to the most amazing landscape practice in Leeds. PWP, big shout out there, especially Lucy Wiggins. and she ended up doing a 10-week work placement with Lucy and her team, and she really enjoyed it because she said, I've had enough, I don't want to. I said, please just have a go. So we paired her up with Lucy Wiggins last year at UK Reef. She had a fantastic time. She then did the 10-week work placement, and at the end of the 10 weeks she got offered a position for a full-time job, and she accepted it. So that is what we're doing. It's the little things. I never went into university with the intention of changing somebody's life, or that was never. It's about the little things that if we can help one person, then we've done something good. The even better thing out of this, Dan, is PWP said all of our landscape architects come in and want to be chartered landscape architects. Actually, Beth doesn't want to be a chartered landscape architect. She wants to be a garden designer. She went, we never get a garden designer. So actually, the fact that Lucy and her company actually supported Beth and actually took a chance with her, they found that right person as well. So this is what we're trying to do, is do things slightly differently, so then everyone wins from it. So they gave a little bit, and they really got a hell of a lot back in return.
Do you know what? That is such a lovely story to kind of end that on that note. It is, I'll be honest, we could talk for days about this, and we're going to, because you guys are going to come back on. We've already agreed that you're going to come back on, because this isn't just a now thing. This isn't a case of, the reason it was really good to get you on stay was because to talk about it next week, but we want to make this quite regular, every month, come on and keep updating. But I just want to say thank you for your time, for coming on. And I guess, we'll have lots of updates next week, won't we, to put out onto social media about what's going on. But thank you both.